Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel, I hope. Everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The Golden Bachelorette. Last Christmas. Joan and Chock's lives are so different this year. Their first Christmas might make them long for the past. The Golden Bachelorette stars Joan Vassos and Chock Chapel are engaged, and as they enjoy their first Christmas together, they probably get pulled back into the past. At their ages, they've lived a lot of life, and special occasions could trigger them, reminding both of them of all they've lost. While the two seem very compatible, they each had very long-lasting relationships. Sadly, Joan and Chock lost their partners to cancer. During the holidays, the new duo, who are planning to live in 3 different places, must find it hard to deal with all of their memories. However, Joan's late husband, Joan Vassos, never betrayed her. He passed away 4 years ago, which broke her heart. At Thanksgiving, she was emotional, thinking about John. The Christmas holidays might be just the same. Chock lost his fiancée of 9 years, Kathy Gorey. For years, Joan and Chock had Christmases with other partners. Now they must try again, together, and the winter holiday season is known for putting people under a lot of pressure. At Thanksgiving, Joan felt like her worlds were colliding, as per Joan's TikTok post. She was with Chock and his kids, and her late husband's birthday falls on November 27. On that day, she took to her car, letting fans know that she needed a little time to herself. She visited John's grave. She was sad. While she was grateful that Chock and his children came to her to make Thanksgiving special, she was being pulled in different directions. She appreciated Chock and his kids, to include her, but maybe a part of her missed the Thanksgivings of yesteryear. Grief doesn't just melt away when someone new enters the picture. It's not that simple. It comes and goes, hitting a person in waves. At first, it hurts all the time. Then, it hurts sometimes. With a loss this great, it's never going to stop hurting completely. It will get better though, with some bad days and nights in the mix. Since holidays like Christmas are essentially about togetherness, they may trigger intense memories. Right now, Joan and Chock are quiet. It's Christmas Eve day. Hopefully they're making some amazing memories together. But there's always the chance that they're living with sadness too. Since they're both mature and intelligent people, they should be able to get through this holiday with flying colors. Maybe it'll be a welcome break from the painful grief of the past. That would be a best-case scenario. Recently, the Golden Bachelorette's Joan Vassos and Chock were cooking together, and she criticized the way he did a kitchen task. He looked a bit irritated but brushed it off. Since the couple are waiting to marry, and Joan has had some emotional moments that she doesn't try to hide, there is always the chance that spending Christmas together will actually be hard for the couple. They are still getting used to being together so much. Both will need to really lean into their new normal in order to make things work. However, they are a couple worth rooting for. The streets of Joan Vassos' neighborhood were lined with twinkling lights, casting a warm glow over freshly fallen snow. It was her first Christmas with Chock Chapel, the man she'd chosen from a sea of hopeful bachelors on the Golden Bachelorette. What had once been a season of shared promises and romantic whispers was now something far more real and far more complicated. Joan had imagined this Christmas 1,000 times. She pictured cozy evenings by the fire, stockings hung with care, and the perfect melding of 2 lives. But as she stared at the chaos unfolding in her living room, she couldn't help but wonder if she'd made a mistake. Chock, ever the adventurer, had insisted on bringing his own traditions into their holiday plans. This had started innocently enough. A 7-foot Christmas tree he chopped down himself, hauled into the house with pine needles, leaving a messy trail. Then there were his decorations. Rustic, handmade ornaments crafted from driftwood and fishing line that clashed spectacularly with Joan's elegant collection of glass baubles and gold ribbons. "It's about blending," Chock said cheerfully, standing on a ladder as he attempted to hang an oversized wreath above the fireplace. The wreath, made of deer antlers and tinsel, looked more like a hunting trophy than a holiday decoration. Joan folded her arms, trying not to cringe. Blending's the magic, Joan. Your style meets mine. Blending or bulldozing? She muttered under her breath. It wasn't just the decorations. Joan's carefully curated menu of roasted duck, truffle mashed potatoes, and cranberry compote had been overhauled by Chock's insistence on a proper cowboy Christmas meal. Barbecue brisket, baked beans, and a spiked eggnog recipe that seemed more moonshine than holiday cheer had taken center stage. Joan, who had always prided herself on elegant holiday entertaining, felt like a stranger in her own kitchen. Yet, as frustrated as she was, Joan knew this wasn't just about the holiday clash. It was about the realization that love in the real world wasn't as simple as it had seemed under the glow of the golden Bachelorette cameras. On the show, Chock had been her knight in shining armor, the adventurous spirit who made her feel alive again. But in the stark reality of their first Christmas together, their differences felt insurmountable. Chock, oblivious to Joan's growing discomfort, was in his element. He'd brought along his dog, Max, who was currently tearing through the pile of meticulously wrapped gifts under the tree. Joan's cat, Sophie, perched on the back of the sofa, hissed at Max every time he came too close. It was chaos, and not the good kind. "Hey, Joan," Chock called out, holding up a string of colored lights. "How about we string these around the banister? Add a little more pop to the place." Joan pinched the bridge of her nose. "Chock, we already have lights on the tree. Do we really need more?" He grinned, his boyish charm momentarily melting her irritation. More lights, more magic. Isn't that what Christmas is about? She didn't have the heart to tell him that for her. Christmas was about elegance and tradition, not excess. Instead, she forced a smile. "Sure, Chock. Let's add more magic." As the day wore on, Joan's frustration simmered just below the surface. She missed the quiet simplicity of her old Christmases, the calm mornings with coffee and carols, the way everything had its place. Chock, on the other hand, seemed to thrive in the chaos. He'd invited a few of his friends over, turning what Joan had intended as an intimate evening into a full-blown cowboy Christmas party. Her pristine dining room table was now laden with plates of barbecue and bottles of beer, and the sound of laughter and country music filled the house. Joan stood in the kitchen, staring at the mess, when her best friend, Carol, appeared beside her. "You okay, Joni?" she asked, concern etched on her face. "I'm fine," Joan lied. "Just adjusting." Carol raised an eyebrow. "Adjusting to Chock or to Christmas?" "Both," Joan admitted. "It's just, everything feels so different this year. I thought it would feel special, but it's like we're speaking two different languages." Carol placed a reassuring hand on Joan's shoulder. "Give it time. You chose Chock for a reason. Maybe this isn't the Christmas you're used to, but that doesn't mean it can't be good in its own way." As the party wound down and the guests trickled out, Joan found herself alone with Chock. He was sitting on the sofa, Max curled up at his feet. The fire crackled in the hearth, casting flickering shadows on the walls. Joan sat down beside him, exhaustion and frustration weighing heavily on her. "You okay, Joan?" Chock asked, his tone gentle. She hesitated, then decided to be honest. "I don't know, Chock. This Christmas, it's not what I expected. I feel like we're so different. Maybe too different." He was quiet for a moment, then reached for her hand. "You're right. We are different. But I think that's why we work. You bring elegance and tradition, and I bring adventure and a little bit of chaos. Together, we can create something new, something that's ours." Joan looked at him, her heart softening. "But what if our differences are too much?" Chock smiled. "Then we'll figure it out. That's what love is, isn't it? Choosing each other, even when it's messy." In that moment, Joan realized that Chock was right. Christmas might not have been what she'd envisioned, but it was theirs. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. As the clock struck midnight, Chock pulled her into a dance, their laughter mingling with the soft strains of a Christmas carol on the radio. The fire crackled, the snow fell, and for the first time that day, Joan felt at peace. This Christmas might not have been perfect, But it was a start, their start. And that, she decided, was something worth celebrating.